No fluff, do it yourself, 10-minute video brought to you by One Generation Insurance and OG Race Factory. We're going to do coolant flush, thermostat bypass, radiator swap, all in one video. Jump to the part that you want. My current radiator is tweaked, not working, so I got a replacement from a previous generation. We're working on a 2022 Aprilia RSV4. So you're going to crack the radiator cap so you get flow on the other side if you're to drain the coolant. If you're draining or flushing to just replace your coolant, or you're removing your radiator, it's going to be the same process. You're going to remove the drain bolt there from the bottom of the water pump. It's going to shoot out pretty fast, so have your catch basin ready. Have gloves on because coolant is toxic. Keep it away from kids and animals. It only takes a small amount, so that's why I've got the floor protected in my temporary garage and I got my gloves on. Make sure you hang on to the bolt here, and there is a washer on there that you'll have to replace when you reinstall it. So let it all drain out, plug it back up. I fast forwarded that part while it fully drained out. Now we're going to get to the removal of the radiator. First, I'm going to take this cover off. There's 2 bolts after you've got the fairings off. Then there's an 8mm bolt back there that's hiding. It's pretty hard to get to. We'll get to it later. So just going to snap some zip ties that were keeping the wires together. I'm going to pull out the overflow bottle drain. There's a few clips in there that was holding it together, and then I'm going to disconnect the fan on either side, on both sides. Now you'll notice that the servo motor was missing there. I've already pulled it, so if you have not, you can check my exhaust video where it shows how I pull that off. You've got 2 C clips on the either side of the oil cooler, and then you can just start sliding the pin. You're going to crack the bolt at the bottom too. So first I'm loosening up the bottom, and then I'm going to slide that pin out of the 2 rubber grommets that connect it. It's hanging on to the bottom of the radiator. Now I'm popping the hoses off that are connected to the radiator. So I'm going to loosen the clamp there and just pop it off. That one's pretty easy. I've got a temporary thermostat delete that I threw on here to see if it was my thermostat that was causing the issues, overheating issues that I was having. Right there, I'm going to go in and take the 8mm bolt out of this side of the radiator. With that out, I'm going to go over to the other side, pop these hoses. These OEM clips, hose clamps, are very difficult. This one's a little bit easier than the other side that I'm going to show you guys in a little bit. I accidentally popped off my regulator that I had temporarily put back there because this is a race bike and it can't be mounted in the fairings. Well, it can be, but I move it back onto the frame. So it's just a little Phillips head there that you're going to unscrew. There's a guide for the cables attached to it. Make sure you put it back on when you're reattaching it. So there's a little clip keeping that last fan connector. I just cut it, disconnect, pour the remaining coolant out into my catch basin. Make sure you're clean with your coolant. Don't want that toxic stuff going where it's not supposed to be. So now we're going to go to the thermostat bypass. Like I said, I already temporarily pulled my thermostat off, but since it's in line within this whole chunk of hosing that we were going to pull off anyways, it's going to be the same. You're going to disconnect the right side from the radiator, and then here you're going to disconnect the left side from the coolant manifold And this is the coolant manifold is often replaced on these because they crack. It's plastic that cracks easily, so you have to be very gentle when you're pulling. You can't crank as hard as you want. These do crack very easily. So here I am. These are the toughest clips. I don't know why they don't open wide enough to go over the lip. And you can see how much I'm struggling there with it. I left it on fast forward and I kept this part of the video just so you can see how difficult it was to finally get it off. A lot of twisting and turning once I finally got it out. So now I'm inspecting the plastic piece there to make sure I didn't crack it. And I'm going to slide my Samco thermostat. I only got the thermostat bypass kit. I've actually got a full kit on my previous RSV4 race bike that I'm going to swap once I confirm this bike's running good. So I get my clamps on there. I'm just going to slide it up over, get it into position. I snug them up with my drill right there, and then I hand tighten the rest to make sure I get it real tight, but also that I'm not cracking them. But you do want them very tight. It's going to be a pressurized system. Then we're going to pull these off on the other side. This whole piece is going to come off and be replaced. Twisting, sometimes it dries, the liquid dries on the outside, some corrosion, and it gets kind of stuck on there. Twist it back and forth. That was a plug I put on there for my... If you're doing this from an OEM system, you're going to have a cross member that comes across from that thermostat where it would have been on the other side to this side, and you're going to want to pull that off one side or the other. It just runs right across. It's pretty simple. Another clamp and another hose you just pop off. So same thing, we're pulling off the clamps, pulling off the hoses, putting hoses back on, tightening the clamps. For the radiators here, we just got to swap the fans. So you're going to take out 3 bolts out of each side. Make sure you keep track of the spacers between the fan and the radiator and the washers that go on these tiny little bolts. I sped this up because it's pretty straightforward. Just swap them over exactly how they were before. Now we're going to go ahead and install. It doesn't go that way. Turn it around. There you go. Install, start on the right side, slide it up over the male piece. Get your cable guide and use the Phillips head to screw the little screw in with the washer. On this side, we're going to put the 8mm bolt back in. It is tough to get to. It took me a little bit of messing around. We're going to pop our hoses back on, connect the fans on both sides, and the oil cooler. We're going to pop that back on as well. Little trick here with the oil cooler. You're going to want to, or at least for myself, put a dab of oil just to allow it to slide through those rubber grommets a little bit easier. They're hard to push through by hand. You can use channel locks pretty wide and start pushing it through with channel locks as well. Once you got them in, I use channel locks to finish sliding it through. I got the little C-clip. I'm going to pop that on, use the channel locks on this side and the other side. Now I'm tired of filming, but that's pretty much it. All you got to do is tighten up these clamps on the hoses. Make sure you tighten that bottom bolt of the oil cooler there, and that's it.